What if I told you that most people never escape poverty? Not because they lack money, but because of the way they think? There are people who receive millions and, just a few years later, end up broke again. And there are also people who start with nothing, yet manage to build wealth from scratch. The difference is rarely the money. It lies in the decisions they make every single day. In this audiobook, you will discover how certain habits, beliefs, and ways of thinking can keep you trapped for years without you even realizing it. Because before you change your bank account, you must change the way you interpret the world, and that change begins now. Chapter 1: True Poverty begins long before you run out of money. Look around you for a moment. Observe the people who seem to be moving forward in life, and also observe those who, year after year, remain exactly where they are. It is easy to think that the difference is simply money, that some people were lucky, that they were born into a better family, that they met the right people, that they happened to be in the right place at the right time. And although those circumstances can certainly influence our lives, there is a much deeper truth, a truth that very few people talk about. Most of the time, poverty does not begin when money runs out. It begins much earlier. It begins with the way a person thinks. Because every reality you see on the outside first existed as a decision, a belief, or a habit inside someone's mind. Nobody builds a prosperous life by accident, and neither does someone remain trapped for years simply because of bad luck. Behind every result, there is a way of thinking that sustains it. That is why there are people who win the lottery and, just a few years later, find themselves in debt again. And there are also people who lose everything, yet manage to rebuild their wealth from nothing. If money were the ultimate answer, both stories would be impossible, yet they happen every single day, because money only amplifies the mindset that already exists. If a person cannot manage $100 properly, they will probably struggle to manage 100,000. If someone cannot control their impulses when they have very little, it is unlikely that they will suddenly know how to control them when they have a lot. The problem was never only the amount of money, the problem was the way they related to it. From the time we are children, we begin forming beliefs that, without realizing it, eventually guide our lives. We hear phrases like, "Money is bad," "Rich people are selfish," "People like us don't do that," "You will never get ahead," "Life is too difficult." At first, they seem like nothing more than words, but as the years pass, they stop being simple phrases. They become mental programs. And those programs begin making decisions for us. Every time an opportunity appears, that voice speaks again. "Don't try." "You're probably going to fail." "You're not good enough." "That's for other people." Little by little, we stop trying, not because it is impossible, but because our own mind has convinced us that it is. Here we encounter one of the greatest traps of a poverty mindset. Believing that the world determines your destiny. People with a scarcity mindset tend to give control of their lives to everything happening outside of themselves. If the economy changes, it's the economy's fault. If they lose their job, it's their boss's fault. If they aren't moving forward, it's because they weren't lucky. There is always someone or something else to blame, but they rarely look within, not to blame themselves, but to ask, "What can I do to change this situation?" That question makes an enormous difference, because while one person waits for the world to change, another begins changing themselves, and that small shift in perspective can completely transform the future. Imagine two seeds planted in different places. One receives water every day. The other barely survives. Both face different conditions, but even the seed, growing among the rocks, will search for the light. It does not ask why the ground is difficult. It simply keeps growing. People can also choose where to direct their energy. We cannot always control our circumstances, but we can decide how we respond to them. And that response ends up defining a large part of our story. There is another characteristic that often accompanies a poverty mindset: the constant desire for immediate results. We live in an age where everything seems instant: food, shopping, entertainment, social media. we have become accustomed to receiving quick rewards. And when a goal requires months or even years of effort, many people give up far too soon. They want to become rich in a matter of weeks. They want to change their lives overnight. They want results without transformation. But reality works differently. Farmer does not plant a seed in the morning, expecting to harvest it that same afternoon. They understand that all growth takes time. It requires patience. It requires consistency. And above all, it requires taking care of something that cannot yet be seen. Wealth works exactly the same way. First, you build a way of thinking. Then, habits begin to form. After that come the decisions. And finally, the results begin to appear. Most people want to reverse that order. They want the results first without changing anything inside themselves. But that never works in the long run, because everything that arrives without preparation tends to disappear just as quickly. Perhaps that is why so many people work for decades and still feel like they are never getting ahead. Not because they are less intelligent, not because they work less, but because nobody taught them that the most important asset they will ever have is not money. It is the way they think. The mind is like a garden. If you do not consciously decide which seeds to plant, weeds will grow on their own. Negative thoughts, excuses, fear, comparison, resignation. All of these things appear automatically if you do nothing to prevent them. On the other hand, a growth mindset must be cultivated every single day. It requires reading, learning, discipline, patience, and the constant decision to become a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. This is where the real change begins. Not when your salary increases, not when you buy a house, not when a great opportunity appears. It begins the day you stop thinking like a victim of your circumstances and start acting like the architect of your own destiny. Because the most important wealth is not in your bank account. It is in the way you interpret life, and when that way of thinking changes, your decisions begin to change as well. Your habits, your relationships, and sooner or later, your results will change too. But there is something that can destroy that process even after you have decided to change. They are habits so common that millions of people repeat them every day without realizing it. Habits that may seem small, but over the years they keep a person trapped in scarcity. That is what we will explore in the next chapter. There you will discover how the simplest actions can bring you closer to abundance, or keep you living exactly the same life year after year. Chapter 2. The invisible habits that keep a person trapped in scarcity. There is an idea that many people never question. They believe poverty appears overnight, as if it were an accident, as if suddenly life decided to close every door. But reality is usually very different. Poverty rarely arrives all at once. It is built slowly, through small decisions, through habits that seem harmless, through thoughts that are repeated so often that they eventually become a way of life. No one wakes up one morning and says, "Today, I'm going to make decisions that will destroy my financial future." No, it happens in a much quieter way. An unnecessary purchase, an excuse not to learn something new, an hour wasted, an opportunity ignored, and then another and another until the years go by and life begins to reflect all those small decisions. That is why we should never underestimate the power of habits, because habits are like drops of water. A single drop seems insignificant, but thousands of drops can eventually pierce even the hardest stone. The first habit that keeps many people trapped in scarcity is living to impress others. We live in a society where sometimes appearing successful seems more important than actually being successful. People who replace their phones every year, even when they don't need, to people who buy clothes to impress strangers. People who purchase a car they can barely afford. People who use credit cards to maintain an image that doesn't match their reality, all just to prove something. But there is a question they rarely ask themselves: who are they trying to convince? Because true wealth does not need to be displayed. A financially intelligent person understands that every dollar has a purpose. They don't buy things simply to feed their ego. They buy when there is a reason, when there is value. When that decision moves their life closer to the future they want to build, people with an abundance mindset understand something most people ignore. Every purchase is a decision about your future. Every dollar you spend represents a portion of your life, hours of work, effort, sacrifice. And when you begin to see money that way, you stop spending it impulsively. You begin to ask yourself, does this actually improve my life? Or does it simply satisfy a temporary desire? There is another habit that is just as dangerous, wanting immediate results. We live surrounded by promises of quick wealth, easy money, instant success. But truly prosperous people understand that great fortunes are rarely built overnight. They are built slowly, with patience, with discipline, with smart decisions repeated over many years. Imagine two people. The first receives $100. They spend it all on the same day. The second receives exactly the same amount. They decide to save part of it, invest another portion, and use the rest wisely. After one day, the difference seems insignificant. After 10 years, the distance between their lives could be enormous, not because one person earned more money, but because they learned to give a purpose to every resource they received. There is a phrase that perfectly summarizes this idea. It doesn't matter how much you earn. What matters is how much you keep and how you make what you keep grow. Another invisible habit is stopping yourself from learning. Many people finish school, get a job, and believe their education is over. But the world never stops changing. Skills that were enough 10 years ago may no longer be enough today. Technology advances. Businesses change. Opportunities evolve. When you stop learning, you slowly begin to fall behind. Successful people read. They listen to audiobooks, they take courses, they learn new tools, not because someone forces them to it, but because they understand that the most profitable investment they can ever make is the investment they make in their own mind. Knowledge has an extraordinary quality. No one can take it away from you. You can lose money. You can lose a job. You can even lose all your possessions. But what you have learned remains with you, and many times. It will be precisely that knowledge that allows you to start again. There is also a habit that silently consumes the wealth of millions of people. Procrastination. That thought that says, I'll start tomorrow. Next week will be better. When I have more time, I'll do it. The problem is that tomorrow has a very dangerous habit. It never comes. Every day you postpone an important decision, you strengthen the habit of postponing the next one. And little by little, procrastination stops being an action. It becomes part of your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who always puts things off until later. And what you repeatedly do eventually defines who you become. The great changes rarely begin with massive actions. They begin with small decisions made today. Read 10 pages. Save a small amount of money. Learn a new skill. Make that phone call. Send that project. Start before you feel completely ready, because action creates clarity, not the other way around. Another silent enemy is surrounding yourself with people who constantly justify mediocrity. The people you spend most of your time with eventually influence the way you think. If everyone around you believes that making progress is impossible, sooner or later, you will begin to believe it too. If you constantly hear criticism toward people who are successful, you will begin to associate success with something negative. But when you surround yourself with people who learn, who work, who build, who look for solutions, your way of thinking begins to transform. Because ideas are contagious, attitudes are contagious too, and so are habits. There is another very common mistake: confusing income with wealth. Some people earn a lot of money, but they spend even more. From the outside, they appear successful, but they live under enormous financial pressure. Meanwhile, other people live simple lives. They save, they invest, they think long-term. And although they may not look wealthy, every year they strengthen their financial freedom. Wealth doesn't always make noise. Many times, it grows in silence while others are busy seeking attention. Those who are building true wealth are busy planting seeds, for the future. And perhaps the most dangerous habit of all is believing that someone else will come and change your life. Waiting for the government to solve all your problems. Waiting for a family member to rescue you. Waiting for the perfect opportunity to appear. Waiting for the ideal moment, but reality is different. Life changes when you change. When you take responsibility for your decisions. When you stop looking for someone to blame and start looking for solutions. That is the moment when you stop thinking like a victim and start thinking like a builder, because builders don't wait for perfect conditions. They build with what they have. They start where they are, and they move forward one step at a time. In the end, wealth does not begin with a large amount of money. It begins with a series of habits repeated every single day. Habits that seem small, but over time, they can completely transform a life. However, there is an even deeper difference between those who remain trapped in scarcity and those who manage to build a life of abundance. It is not only in what they do, and is in the way they think, in the questions they ask themselves, in the opportunities they are able to see, where others see only problems. And that is precisely what you will discover in the next chapter, because before you can build wealth with your hands, you must learn to build it with your mind. Chapter 3: How people who build wealth think there is a difference that cannot always be seen at first glance. Two people can have the same job, the same salary, the same age. They may even live in the same neighborhood. And yet 10 years later, their lives can be completely different. One is still struggling to make ends meet. The other has built stability, peace of mind, and new opportunities. What happened? Many people will say that one of them was simply luckier, but luck alone rarely explains an entire life. The real difference began much earlier. It began with the way each person chose to think, because all visible wealth is first created through invisible wealth. A different way of interpreting time, money, problems, and opportunities. People with an abundance mindset understand something that completely transforms the way they make decisions. Money is important, but time is worth far more. Money can be recovered. You can lose an investment and start again. You can lose a business and build another one, but you can never recover a single minute that has already passed. That is why they stop asking only how much money they can make. They begin asking how they can use their time more effectively. They understand that learning a new skill can create benefits for decades, that reading a great book can change the direction of an entire life, that dedicating 1 hour a day to personal growth can produce results that are impossible to imagine at the beginning. While many people spend hours consuming entertainment, others use part of that same time to learn. And that small difference, repeated over the years, eventually creates an enormous gap. There is another characteristic that distinguishes those who build wealth. They learn to think long-term. We live surrounded by people who want immediate results. Everything must happen today. Everything must generate quick profits. Everything must provide instant gratification. But true wealth does not work that way. It is much more like planting a tree. During the first few months, it may seem like nothing is happening. It may even seem as if all the effort was pointless. And yet beneath the ground, the roots continue to grow. And when the tree finally begins to rise, it already has the strength needed to withstand the storms. People work the same way. For a long time, the results may not be visible, but every habit, every book, every conversation, every intelligent decision is strengthening the roots that will support the future. People who build wealth are not obsessed with looking successful. They would rather build success. They understand that there is an enormous difference between looking rich and being financially free. A person can wear expensive clothes, drive a luxury car, post impressive pictures, and still be drowning in debt. Another person may live a simple life without attracting attention, yet be building investments that will give them peace of mind for many years. Appearance lasts for a moment. Freedom can last a lifetime. That is why people who develop an abundance mindset stop competing with others. They begin competing with the person they were yesterday. They are not trying to prove anything. They are trying to grow. Every day they try to become a little more disciplined, a little more patient, a little wiser, because they understand that success does not appear all at once. It is the natural consequence of hundreds of small improvements accumulated over time. There is another important difference. People with a scarcity mindset often ask, "How much does it cost?" People with a growth mindset ask, "What value can it create?" Both questions may seem similar, but they lead to completely different decisions. The first looks only at the expense. The second looks at the potential. Of course, this does not mean buying everything without thinking. It means learning to distinguish between an expense and an investment. An expense disappears. An investment has the potential to multiply. Investing in education, in skills, in health, in healthy relationships, in tools that increase your ability to create value. These kinds of investments can produce benefits for many years. Another characteristic of people who build wealth is that they stop depending on a single source of income. They understand that putting their entire future in one place can be dangerous. So they develop new skills. They learn new trades. They look for different ways to create value, not because they are afraid, but because they understand that adaptability is one of the greatest strengths in a constantly changing world. They also understand that problems never disappear. They simply change in size. Many people imagine that successful people live without difficulties. The reality is exactly the opposite. The greater the responsibilities, the greater the challenges tend to become. The difference is that they stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and started asking, "How can I solve this?" That small shift completely changes the direction of the mind. Because every problem contains a hidden opportunity. Sometimes it is a new skill, other times a lesson, and in many cases, an opportunity that did not exist before. While some people freeze when faced with difficulties, others learn to use those difficulties as fuel for growth. There is also a quality that almost every great wealth builder shares: patience. We live in a time when very few people are willing to wait. We want quick results, immediate profits, instant recognition. But the things that truly matter take time. A strong company takes time. A good reputation takes time. A smart investment takes time. Even self-confidence takes time. That is why people who go far learn to fall in love with the process. They do not live only waiting for the final result. They enjoy becoming a better version of themselves every day, because they understand that if the person improves, the results will eventually improve as well. And perhaps the most important difference of all is this: people with an abundance mindset take responsibility for their lives. They do not wait for someone to come and rescue them. They do not constantly blame the past or the government or the economy. They recognize that difficult circumstances exist, but they also recognize that they can always choose their next step. And as long as there is a possibility of taking one more step, there will always be a possibility of changing direction. Wealth begins exactly there. At the moment when you stop asking what you are missing and start asking what you can build with what you already have. Because nobody starts with everything figured out. Everyone starts with something: an idea, a skill, a dream, a small amount of savings, or simply the desire to change. And many times that is enough to begin an entirely different journey. However, knowing these ideas is not enough. You can understand how a prosperous person thinks. You can admire their habits. You can repeat their quotes, but if you do not transform the way you act every day, nothing will change. Real change happens when you turn a new way of thinking into a new way of living. And that is precisely what we will explore in the final chapter. You will discover how to reprogram your mind to leave scarcity behind, build habits of abundance, and become the person capable of creating the life you have imagined for so long. Chapter 4: Reprogram your mind to build a life of abundance. We have reached the end of this journey, but in reality, this is not the end, it is the beginning. Because learning new ideas has very little value if, by the time this audiobook ends, you go back to living exactly the way you did before. True transformation never happens while you are simply listening. It happens when you decide to take action. Many people spend years consuming books, conferences, and courses about success. They learn new strategies. They listen to inspiring stories. They get excited. They feel motivated for a few days. But then, everything goes back to normal. Why? Because information, by itself, does not change a life. What changes a life are the actions you repeat again and again. The mind works in a way very similar to a path through a forest. The first time someone walks along it, they leave behind only a small trail. The second time, the path becomes easier to recognize. After walking it hundreds of times, that trail becomes the easiest route to follow. The same thing happens with our thoughts. Every time you repeat an idea, you strengthen that pathway inside your mind. If every day you think that you will never have enough money, your brain will begin looking for evidence to confirm that belief. If you constantly repeat that life is always against you, you will eventually find reasons to believe it. But the opposite is also true. When you begin developing different thoughts, your mind slowly starts building new connections, and over time, your actions begin to change as well. That is why the first transformation always happens in your inner dialogue. Ask yourself for a moment, how do you speak to yourself when something goes wrong? Do you insult yourself? Do you tell yourself that you're useless, that you always fail, that you will never get ahead? If so, imagine speaking to a friend that way every single day. Eventually, they would stop believing in themselves. And yet many people have that same conversation with themselves for years. Then they wonder why they lack confidence. The words you use with yourself are seeds. Sooner or later, they will produce a harvest. So begin changing the questions you ask. Instead of saying, "Why do I never have enough money?" Ask yourself, what skill can I develop to create more value? Instead of thinking, everything is too difficult, ask yourself, what opportunity are other people seeing that I haven't discovered yet? The answers change when the questions change, and a new answer can completely change the direction of a life. There is another step that can profoundly transform your mindset. Learning to be grateful. Many people believe that gratitude is simply about feeling good. But it is much more than that. Gratitude changes the focus of the mind. Instead of looking only at what is missing, you begin recognizing what you already have. Health, knowledge, time, experiences, people who support you, opportunities you once took for granted. And when you learn to appreciate those resources, you also begin to use them more wisely. Because no one takes care of something they do not value. Another fundamental principle is taking complete responsibility for your life. This does not mean that everything bad that has happened to you was your fault. Life can be unfair. There are losses, crises, unexpected problems, situations that no one chooses to experience. But there is always something you can decide, your response. You cannot change the past, but you can decide what to do with the present, and that decision has more power than you might imagine. People who build abundance stop asking who is to blame. They start asking what the next step will be, even if it is small, even if it seems insignificant. Because they understand that great changes begin with small actions repeated every day. Read a few pages, learn a new skill, save a small amount of money. Exercise. Keep a promise you made to yourself. Talk to someone who can teach you something. Each of these actions may seem small, but together, they have the power to completely transform a life. There is also a difference that separates those who remain trapped from those who manage to move forward. The first group waits until they feel ready. The second begins even when they are afraid. Waiting for the perfect moment is one of the most elegant forms of procrastination, because the truth is, that moment almost never comes. There will always be something missing. More money, more experience, more confidence, more time. But those who transform their reality understand an invaluable lesson. Clarity comes from moving forward, not from waiting. The first step does not have to be perfect. It simply has to exist. It is also important to understand that wealth is not measured only by money. A person can have millions and still live filled with anxiety. Another person may have fewer financial resources, yet enjoy peace, health, meaningful relationships, and freedom. True abundance includes all of these areas, because there is little value in filling your bank account if you empty your peace of mind. The goal is not simply to earn more, it is to build a balanced life. A life where money is a tool, not a master. Where you work to create freedom, not to become a slave to your own decisions. And remember one more thing: never stop learning. The world changes every day. Opportunities change, careers change, technology changes. But a person who keeps an open mind will always find new ways to grow. The safest investment will never be a stock, a property, or a bank account. It will always be the investment you make in yourself. Because knowledge travels with you wherever you go, and no one can take it away from you. Perhaps today you do not have all the resources you want. Perhaps the road seems long. Perhaps you have even made mistakes that still weigh heavily on your shoulders. But none of those things define your future. What will truly define your destiny is the decision you make after listening to these words. You can close this audiobook and continue living exactly as you have been. Or you can turn this moment into the point where a new story began. The decision has always been in your hands, because abundance does not appear by chance. It is built. It is learned. It is practiced. And above all, it belongs to those who are willing to grow every single day. Always remember this: money can open many doors, but it is your mindset that will determine whether you are capable of keeping them open. Do not allow fear to make your decisions for you. Do not allow excuses to write your story. Do not allow the limitations of your past to define the rest of your life. Start today with what you have, from where you are. Because the first step toward a life of abundance never begins in your wallet. It begins in your mind, and when you transform the way you think, you begin to transform the way you live, and that is true wealth.